We live in a world where resting feels like a crime. We take a lot of work onto our shoulders and we study, we do the homework, we work all night, and we might feel burnt out. And you might feel that you are getting undisciplined, unmotivated, demotivated, whatever it is. And you won't understand it is a burnout. And then you would feel guilty of not doing anything. You would be procrastinating and doing all those kind of stuff. And then, because of this new ongoing trend in productivity, you might buy some books like Deep Work or Atomic Habits, whatever, in order to make yourself more productive. But in fact, you're just burnt out. And while you're reading the books, you might feel like you want to do something, but at the same time, you feel like you can't do anything and you'll feel guilty of that. So this is a perpetual cycle. Because you feel guilty because of that bad mental state, you can't actually do any kind of work. That is what happens in this productivity culture. And this is what happened to me anyways. In order to really overcome this, we should really start taking rest. I'm going to convince you to start taking rest. Okay, so why should we take rest in the first place? It is really good for your brain. And if you're a student, you can really resonate with this. You might have studied all night preparing for the exam, only to forget everything in the midst of the exam. Good sleep is really good for memory consolidation. Taking good rest will give you high creative output. See, when you're resting, when you go for a walk or when you just journal without any constraints, when you let your mind wander, all these kind of associations will be made in between your mind. You'll come up with new ideas, and this is what I do in order to get new ideas. I just let my mind wander. So it is really good for creativity, and it is really good for emotional regulation. And resting is one of the greatest acts of self-love. When you give yourself permission to do rest, you're actually giving yourself freedom to be a human. You're not a robot, right? Nobody is a robot. Nobody can work like 24/7. That's actually pretty bad. So I think you're pretty much convinced about taking rest. So let's talk what is rest. I mean, there are some intricacies of what is rest. So I'm not doing that actually. I'm gonna say what is not rest. See, if you are a person who thinks that watching reels or maybe watching a lot of movies is a form of rest, you might be wrong. I mean, if you're binge watching movies and if you're overstimulating yourself with reels, it is not rest. Instead, you're just putting your brain on a hamster wheel. You get it? So please don't do that. And you might do some really guilt-inducing activities while you're resting. I don't want to say the names, but anyways, it is not really rest. If you were to feel guilt while you're resting, it is not really ideal. Either you change your mindset about the thing that you're doing, or you should at least release the guilt from your body. If you are suppressing the guilt while you're resting, it takes more energy to suppress your emotions, and it is not a form of resting actually. And obviously, resting means you should dial down your cognitive activities. If your brain is processing a lot of things at once, like maybe binge watching and all, it is also not rest. So just dial down the cognitive activities, do some light-hearted stuff. According to philosophy and all, you are just allowing yourself to take a step back, withdraw yourself from the forward locomotion towards your goal, only to jump back even better. You understood what is rest, what is non-rest, and I'll tell you what I do personally to rest myself while I'm restless. There are two kinds of rest actually. One is BTB rest, which is an acronym that I made, between the block rest. You guys might be familiar with the term deep work. So if you're a person who works a lot, who work for very long hours, you might be expending a lot of cognitive energy while you're working. So what you can do is that to take small rest in between, so that you can reset your mental pattern and you can work even better afterwards. So in those kind of circumstances, you can do these kind of activities, which is first and foremost, when you're free, don't use phone. Just take a blank sheet of paper, or maybe journal something. Just let it free, let wander, let your thoughts wander. Just trust me, you'll come up with a lot of new ideas while you are doing this free journaling thing. I mean, I have come across a lot of different new ideas. I have made new ideas while I'm free journaling, and it is a great way to relax yourself. And then taking a walk in nature, it is also pretty good. Another way to rest in between the blocks of deep work is to walk in nature. Walking in nature gives you a lot of relaxation. When you walk in that, you're actually in another different space. You're not in a concrete jail. You are just letting yourself be free. You can see the horizons, or maybe you can see the sky, and you'll get a lot of new ideas. And I think it is Friedrich Nietzsche who said, no, there are no ideas better than the ones you got from a walk. He said something like that. So it gives you a lot of ideas. It will reset your mental button. It will calm down your stress. It is really good. And the next form of rest is something very intricate, but it's one of the best form of rest, which is NSDR. See, you just lie down on the bed, and then you kind of relax every muscle of your body, and you'll get into a state which is called hypnagogic state. And you can control your perception. You can feel that your body is very lightened, and if you do that, a lot of dopamine will be stored inside your body. And because of the dopamine, the next time when you wake up from that hypnagogic state or that relaxation state, you would feel pretty energetic, and you can work literally non-stop. Not literally, but anyways, you can work non-stop. So that is NSDR, and you can search Andrew Huberman's NSDR 10 minutes or something. Like there's a video in Spotify as well as in YouTube. And then what I tend to do is that I combine letting go with this NSDR or this yoga nidra. When you get into this relaxed kind of state, it is very easy to invoke emotions into your body. If you don't know, a lot of emotions are stored inside your body. I have this Alexa EcoSpot in my bedroom, and I give a voice command to play any song. Not any song, to play some very emotionally disturbing song, and I'd play that, and all these negative emotions might come. I might think of some very painful memories or very hurting memories. Yeah, all these emotions come onto the surface. I might feel some very different bodily sensation, maybe tightness in my chest, or I might clench my fist because of anger or something, and I'll just let it be. I let it still, and all these emotions will be released, and you won't have any kind of thoughts. You won't get into overthinking or any sort of stuff. These emotions will be released. So that is letting go. And if you want to research more about this, you can search David R. Hawkins. He has a pretty vast collection of books. He has made that, and it is a phenomenal collection to study about consciousness, to study about emotions, and how to release emotions to get into very high consciousness state, or like enlightenment of peace or joy or something. Anyways, so I do this letting go combined with NSDR, so it is really powerful. You release all your emotions and you'll feel rested. You'll be crystal clear when you start working. Okay, so BTB rest is over. You can do this while you're in between the work, while you want to rest in between the work. So now let's talk about total overdose rest, which is another kind of rest, which is meant for only one day, or maybe you can increase the number of days. See, in the Jewish or Christian traditions, there's something called Sabbath. So they take one day free from all their work. They relax, they worship their God, they realign with their long-term goal, or maybe like they just rest, that's it. So you take a Sabbath one day, not the literal Sabbath in the scriptures, but different kind of Sabbath. And I'm going to tell you what all the activities that I do in that thing. Or maybe I can share a story, what I did with the last Sunday. So I watched a half of a movie, and it was a really good movie, and I forgot. Anyways, so I watched that. I consumed some creative content. It made me think, about, and it kind of realigned me with my overarching purpose. So it is very good. I consumed some creative content, went to a cafe and ordered a coffee, and I took my iPad with me and I introspected a lot, like about the last week. How was it? What was the greatest memories from that week? And what was the most funniest thing that happened, or something like that. I just gave Gemini a prompt to help me with the introspection, and it gave me some questions, really good questions, and I typed the answers in Notion. I took my scooty and I went to a beach. It was almost a rainy climate, but it had its own, it was also kind of sunny, so it was like it was very perfect to watch, and I took many photos as possible in my camera, and I still haven't edited many of it, and I'll edit it. And I took many photos. That was the main highlight, and I kept searching for some weird, different little quirky little angles, and I found many, and I took many pictures, and that is one of my hobby, by the way. So I was really happy. And I also aligned myself existentially, which means I aligned my goal with the long-term goals. So it was really good. I felt that I'm very aligned to where I'm going. The things that I'm doing right now in the present has a meaning, and it is really good to have a meaning in your life. It means that you're not just living without any reason. It means that you're living for a reason. When you have that thing in your head, when you just remind yourself that you're living for a reason and your life has a purpose, your life has a meaning, it would feel good to live, actually. To summarize this, I talked about the perpetual cycle of unproductivity if you don't take rest. In order to escape it, in order to really love yourself, you should give yourself permission to take rest. And I talked about what's rest and what's not rest, and how to avoid it, and what you can do on Sunday. How can you rest in between your works? So I think this is pretty clear. So guys, my dear friends, take rest so that you won't rest in pieces in peace. And if you really like this video, you can click on my other videos, which is about deep work, how to work with full focus. So I have mentioned that video over here, so click here. If you have liked this video, give it a like and subscribe. Thank you.